I'm Emily, 42 years old. I've been married for 12 years and worked as a pastry chef at a bakery. My mom was an excellent cook. My mom often tells me that ever since she could remember, she would find me in the kitchen, watching her cook. When I started elementary school, my mom taught me how to cook, and we would bake together on weekends. That's when baking became my hobby. I went to culinary school and was able to get a job at the bakery I had always dreamed of. I've been working hard for over 20 years now. I love my job and wanted to do it for life, but being a pastry chef is a standing job. I stand for long hours from morning till night, and there are many heavy things like pots, so it's quite physically demanding. I've had back problems for the past 3 years, and recently it's been getting worse. It's hard to even stand up, and there are days when I have to take a break. I'm the head pastry chef, but taking breaks causes trouble for my less experienced colleagues. Emily. Don't push yourself. I'll do it. My newer colleagues are really great, they learn quickly, and they're a big help. On the other hand, my husband is not at all kind to me with my bad back. Is breakfast not ready yet? I'm going to be late. Even on days when my back is so bad that I can't get up in the morning, he neither worries about me nor helps me. He comes to the bed just to ask for breakfast. Sorry. I can't get up because of the pain. Could you just get breakfast on the go? I ask him apologetically. Sigh. He sighed and left for work. I met my husband, John, when we were in our 20s. We frequented the same bar, and after seeing each other often, he started to catch my eye. One night, after getting drunk, I told the bar manager about it, and he arranged for us to have a drink together. After a few times drinking together, we ended up dating. My husband is 3 years older than me and works in insurance sales. When I first met him, he was cool and a real gentleman. He would listen to my worst problems without a grimace. When we were dating, he was very kind and always put me first. However, after getting married, he became indifferent to me, and I often felt he was cold. I think the reason is that I continued working as a pastry chef. When we got married, he asked me to switch to a job with more free time so I could be home more, but I didn't want to quit the job I loved. I tried my best to keep up with the housework so it wouldn't seem like it was because of my job. I also gave him half of our living expenses every month, as we had agreed when we first got married. However, during busy seasons like Christmas, work would get so hectic that I sometimes neglected things at home. Each time, my husband. Are you okay with the house being a mess? The pay seems low, is this job really worth it? He asked. At that time, no matter how low the pay was or how busy I got, I was so happy with my job that quitting wasn't an option. I love it, so I want to keep doing it. I've told you that so many times. I stubbornly replied. Normally, I don't talk back to my husband, but when it comes to my job, I can't help but get defensive. Since we got married, my husband hasn't even tasted the cakes I make. I've tried serving them after dinner several times, but he never even looked at them. Since my back hurt and I couldn't get up, I called in sick to work. As I was struggling to get up to go to the doctor, my mother-in-law came over. Oh. Has John already gone to work? He's so diligent getting up early. And you're still in your pajamas at this hour? My in-laws live about 5 minutes away by car. She walks several times a week and stopping by our house has become part of her routine. She usually comes by around the time we're having breakfast. While I'm cleaning up after breakfast, she chats happily with my husband before leaving. Today, I couldn't make breakfast, and my husband left early to stop by the convenience store, so I was alone. My mother-in-law, like my husband, was against my job. She still nags about us not having children. Every time we meet, she makes snide comments, so honestly, I don't like her. When my husband is around, she talks to him, so I try to avoid talking to her as much as possible. My back hurts, so I took a day off work. I'm about to go to the doctor. Oh. We've been telling you for years. You don't care about the family. You can't have kids, you're a useless daughter-in-law. I wanted her to leave quickly, but my back hurt too much to argue. I could only give a forced smile. She used to work part-time at a dry cleaner's until a few years ago. My husband often says, Mom worked and still did all the housework perfectly. She was an ideal mom. I want you to be like her, Emily. Every time he says it, it really hurts. I'm not trying to compare, but part-time and full-time hours are completely different. To my husband, his mother is the standard. Even on days when I come home exhausted from work, I do my best with the housework, but it doesn't seem to matter to him. And my husband have 2 siblings. They had a lively family of 5, so it was always bustling. My husband probably longed for such a family, and his mother must have wanted to spoil her grandchildren. My husband is the eldest son, and his younger brothers are not even married yet. It's not that I didn't want kids. While working, I underwent fertility treatments for several years, but I couldn't have children. However, my mother-in-law insists that it's because of my job. John isn't here, and being with you just makes me feel bad, so I'm leaving. She said as she left. I felt the same way, but I chose not to say anything. Got it. See you later, I said as I saw her out. She was only there for about 10 minutes, but with my back pain, I was exhausted. After getting ready and going to the doctor, I was told that my back was in pretty bad shape and that I'd need serious treatment. I started to think it might be really hard to keep working. I couldn't continue to burden the company, but I still wanted to work with pastries in some capacity. I talked to the people around me. Of course, I didn't think it was worth discussing with my husband, so I didn't say anything to him. A few days later, I handed in my resignation at the bakery where I'd worked for many years. My colleagues were surprised and said, "We don't want you to quit." I was happy they wanted me to stay, and since I loved the job, I started to cry. I explained that I couldn't keep causing trouble and that I had other things I wanted to do. I promised to work as hard as I could, considering my back, for the remaining month until my resignation. For the next few months, I worked harder than ever. There were days when my back hurt, but I pushed myself and did my best. Those days made me realize once again how much I love this job. At both the farewell party and on my last day, I cried so much that everyone was surprised. I came home with a message board and a bouquet, and I told my husband that I had quit my job. I quit my job, I said, and my husband looked surprised. What? Why did you quit? Why didn't you tell me anything? My husband had always wanted me to quit my job, and he was so indifferent that I knew he wouldn't really listen if I did consult him. You know my back is bad, and I thought it would be hard to keep a standing job. You also wanted me to quit. For now, I'll focus on treatment and taking care of the house. I said you should change jobs, not quit. What about living expenses? We have savings, so I'll use that. Sigh, well, if you'll pay, fine. I'm going to bed, he said and went to bed. There was no concern for my back or any acknowledgement of my years of work. I felt angry. The next day was my husband's day off. I was making breakfast when my mother-in-law arrived. I heard you quit your job, she burst in, saying forcefully. I was surprised my husband had told her, but since it was true. Yes, that's right, I answered. So you're a freeloader now? You're already useless, and now you're even more so. I'm just focusing on my treatment for now. Calling me useless is rude. I wondered why I had to be spoken to like that and snapped back. Hearing our voices, my husband got up. It's so noisy this morning. You're unemployed, so don't talk back. His words made me snap. What? Why do I have to be told that? It's not like I'm not working forever. I snapped back. The problem is you're not working now. Normally, you get another job before you quit. My husband didn't back down. I've told you my back is bad. How many times do I have to say it? Then his mother joined in. Your bad back is your own fault. A jobless daughter-in-law should leave. Mom's right. You need to give me your severance pay as alimony. I realized there was no point in talking to them anymore. Fine. Then let's get a divorce. I said, threw the half-made breakfast in the trash, grabbed the essentials, and left the house. Even while I was packing, they were still nagging and yelling at me, but I ignored them. Why do I have to be treated like this just for quitting my job? I've worked so hard for both my job and my family. Even when my back got bad, they never worried about me. When did it all go wrong? I couldn't stop crying as I walked away. My parents' house is far away, so I called my best friend from my old job and asked to stay with her for a few days. Sorry for showing up so suddenly. Don't cry. You did nothing wrong. You can let it all out to me all you want today. Her words saved me. That day, we talked and drank from noon, just like before I got married. What still puzzled me was why my husband and his mom blamed me so much for quitting my job. My friend also said, I don't understand it. No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't understand. But I decided to file for divorce as soon as possible and start a new life. Later, when I brought the divorce papers to my husband, he persistently asked, "You'll give me your severance pay as alimony, right?" I thought it was unfair that I had to pay alimony after being treated so badly, but I didn't want to drag it out any longer. So I said, fine, severance pay is cheap, and later withdrew and handed it over. My mother-in-law was there when I handed over the severance pay. She immediately checked the contents of the envelope and said, "You worked for so long, and this is all you got? You were useless until the end." It made me feel bad, but I was rather glad not to be part of such a family anymore. The divorce was finalized, and I was happily single again. I rented a small apartment and started a new life. After spending about 2 weeks relaxing, my back, which had been so bad, improved significantly. Tomorrow, I start preparing for my new job. I'm really looking forward to it. As I was getting ready for bed early, a phone call came in. It was from John. "Hey, Emily, I'm really sorry. Can we start over?" He spoke in a voice that was completely different from when we divorced. I thought, why now? Are you crazy? There's no way we're getting back together, I said forcefully. Then I heard his mother's voice from the other end, be more persistent. "I can hear you, Mom. I'm not interested in getting back together. Goodbye." I abruptly hung up the phone. I was a bit curious about why they had treated me so badly or acting differently. But I had work starting tomorrow. I decided to switch gears and go to bed. The next day, when I arrived at my new job, my ex-husband and mother-in-law were there. "We are truly sorry," they said, trying their best to get my full attention. As I stood there, confused about what was happening, my father-in-law appeared. "Emily, I'm sorry for not knowing anything." His company was starting a new bakery, and I was supposed to be developing the store and products from scratch. This was an offer I had received from my father-in-law when I was contemplating quitting my previous job. My mother-in-law and husband always had it out for me, but my father-in-law had been on my side since the beginning. He always supported my work and ate my cakes with delight. Whenever something came up, I would consult him, not my husband or mother-in-law. 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized, my ex-husband moved out of our house and returned to his parents' home. The day I received the phone call. "Where's Emily?" he asked curiously. "Oh, I divorced her because she's useless," my ex-husband answered, and his mom, looking pleased. It was the right decision to divorce that useless wife, she said. Hearing that, his father turned pale. "Do you have any idea? I've entrusted Emily with our new business," he yelled. "What do you mean useless? What do you mean jobless?" His anger didn't subside for a while. "And that's why they came to apologize to me today." I tried to tell my ex-husband and mother-in-law about working with father-in-law, but they wouldn't listen. I thought he already knew about the divorce. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the divorce. Even though I'm divorced, I'll work my hardest. I'll definitely make it a popular shop. When I told him this, he responded with, "No, you don't need to apologize. You don't have to forgive them. With your skills, Emily, it's sure to be a popular shop," he said as we shook hands. Both my mother-in-law and my ex-husband watched, looking small and humbled. "John and Mom, I won't forget what you said to me that day," I said, but they, I'm sorry," was all they could say. "All right, Emily, let's talk about the new store. Both of you, go home," said my father-in-law, sending my ex-husband and his wife away, and we started our meeting. It was my first time building a store from scratch. Just having the meeting made me excited. Later, my father-in-law told me that John and his mom had started investing together a year before our divorce and had incurred massive debts. I had left the money management to John, and he had been covering everything with my contributions, using his salary for new investments and debt repayment. When I quit my job, they were worried about not being able to cover living expenses and scared that I would find out about their investments. That's why they desperately wanted my severance pay. My ex-husband moved back to his parents' house to save on living expenses. But John's dad told them to stop investing and focus on paying off their debts. Until the debts are all paid, my father-in-law decided to live separately so they wouldn't rely on him. John started a night job in addition to his regular work, and his mom started working full-time. Later, John's father returned the severance pay I had given. I was so busy with work that I didn't notice. Whenever they said they needed money for living expenses, I gave it without question. "I might have spoiled them too much," he said apologetically. "No, I'm the same. I was so focused on work that I didn't notice anything." "I'm really glad we realized it this time," I told him. After that, we worked hard to prepare for the store opening. There were many things I was unsure about, but we had many meetings and repeatedly tested products. It took longer than expected, but we were able to create a satisfying business and products. Then, the opening day arrived. I stood at the storefront with my father-in-law. Sales were strong. Seeing customers buy cakes with smiling faces makes me incredibly happy.